Good evening and welcome to the Replenish Me Show. The focus of my podcast is to help female entrepreneurs to replenish themselves so that they can stay tuned to their message and purpose and powerfully impact the world. I'm your hostess, Cordelia Gaffar. I'm a best-selling author, international speaker, and a member of the All Ladies League. I'm also the chair for social media and branding, a global goodwill ambassador, and I've recently been selected for a global leadership award by Powerhouse magazine, as well as being nominated for top influencer and podcaster of the year. Amongst my books, we have America's Leading Ladies, which just released in May of 2019. And the hard copy is soon to be published. You can get a copy of any and all of my books by going to my website, cordeliagaffar.com. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show, enjoying tips and tools so that you can stay replenished in your mission and purpose as an entrepreneur. And that's why I have dynamic guests on every week. Now, it's time for the show. Welcome to the Replenish Me Show, where I have dynamic and amazing people like my guest today. And I am so excited to have Cheryl Wood. Now, she is an international empowerment speaker, best-selling author, and speaker development coach who equips women globally with the tools to step outside their comfort zone, take bigger risks, and confidently embrace their personal power to impact the world with their unique talents. I met Cheryl Wood at the Success Women's Conference last September, and when I attended her workshop, I had never seen her speak in person before, and it was just really amazing and breathtaking to see that much power in the same room with me. So I want to welcome you to the show, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
Absolutely. I'm so curious, where did it all begin for you? When did you know that you wanted to be a speaker?
So my career prior to speaking, I actually was a legal secretary in corporate America for 15 years. I can't even believe I stuck with that for 15 years because everything about me and my personality says I should be out running my mouth and getting paid for it somewhere. But I think all of us do what we're familiar with and what we're comfortable with until we're willing to be bold enough and courageous enough to explore something different. So in 2009, I found myself in this position where I really wanted to claim time freedom because I was a mom of 3. And I wanted to be able to take my kids to school every day and pick them up from school at 3 o'clock versus having them in school for like 12 hours a day. They were in a before care program and an aftercare program. And I think the worst part was that at the end of it all, when I did pick them up in the evenings, I really gave them the worst parts of me. And that just really ate away at me. So I knew I wanted to do something different. So in 2009, I actually started a business just to kind of get my feet wet as an entrepreneur. And I started a t-shirt business. It was called Moms Are the Best. And I would go around to events and I would sell t-shirts. Now, I didn't think t-shirts was going to like make me a millionaire or anything like that, but I was trying to discover what were the real steps for success that would allow me to grow a business and ultimately be able to walk away from the corporate job that I felt monopolized most of my time. And so it really did. It taught me a lot. Doing the t-shirts on the weekends and at these events, it taught me how to speak up about my product, how to talk and articulate very clearly who I am and what I do as a business owner. It taught me how to hear the word no and not be crushed by it. It taught me how to network effectively with other people who were in the room. So it really taught me so many things. And I didn't know that it was going to lead me into speaking. But sure enough, about a year and a half later, I got a phone call from someone at Morgan State University up in Baltimore, Maryland, which is where I'm from, born and raised. And the person on the other end said, Ms. Wood, we have heard about your t-shirt business. We'd like to invite you to come in to speak at our women's conference. It's an annual conference we do. We typically get 200, maybe 300 women. And we want you to come and teach a session to teach other moms how to start their own businesses. And honestly, I burst out laughing. I said, you are not looking for me. I'm not a speaker. I had no experience. but it was an opportunity. And I think that's what happens when you get started, is that doors of opportunity will open that will allow you to explore exactly who you're destined to be. So that just happened to be that moment for me. So I said yes, and I will never forget it. It was September 18th of 2010.
Wow.
And I went into this event and I was nervous and my palms were sweating. My heart was racing. I was like, why did I say yes? I was so nervous, but I did it, and I gave myself an opportunity to prove to myself what I was capable of. And it was on that day that Cheryl Wood, the speaker, was born. So I like to say speaking really found me through the course of being in motion, not being so afraid of something new and different that I just stayed stuck and paralyzed. And as they say, kind of the rest is history. Once I discovered on that day that that was my gift, that was the thing that made me feel so alive when I did it. I love the feedback that I got from individuals who heard my message. And this was without any development of a skill set called speaking at all. So if I could make that much of an impact just doing it just off of a God-given gift, then wow, how much more could I impact and touch people's lives globally, even if I were actually to develop it as a skill set. So it just brought me so much joy knowing that I could inspire people. I could inspire and encourage hope in them that whatever they wanted to pursue, they could actually pursue it and achieve it. And at the top of 2011, I just went all in, and everywhere I could speak, I spoke. Anybody who wanted me to speak, I would. They didn't have to pay me, because I considered that year to be like a full year of experience and exposure. So how do you learn how to become a great speaker unless you're speaking? If you got to be out in front of people speaking and figuring out what feels good and what works and what doesn't, and what jokes land and what jokes don't land. And so I just gave myself permission to really just be on this path of discovering how I could become the best speaker possible. And then of course, as time went on, I started investing in coaches and programs that will help me to really become the best speaker possible. And here we are today.
I love everything you said. I want to pull out a couple of things for our listeners. So first of all, right, you just started a business, right? Just because you knew you wanted to do something different. So you just overcame that. And then the best part of what you said was the yes, right? Just saying yes to whatever. And I like that you were saying that once you decided to use your voice, right, to really get yourself out there, get your message out there, you looked at it as practice, right? Because a lot of times we lock ourselves into it has to be perfect right now. But you were just like, nope, I'm going to see what feels good. And once you felt into that, then you knew, I guess, who to go for as far as to get coaching and more skills. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I mean, over time, of course, I had heard about individuals who were really thriving in the speaker industry. So I knew about some of the gurus, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Lisa Nichols.
Right.
But to be honest, at that time, I couldn't even envision myself even being in a room with those people. Like, it seems so far-fetched. So I didn't start my coaching there, even though now I've coached with Lisa Nichols. I've been in the programs with Les Brown. I mean, things that I would at the time never imagine. I couldn't see at that time. So I started where I was, and I hired a coach who I could kind of relate to a little bit more, because she wasn't so far ahead of me that I couldn't see myself in her. But it also was based on what my budget could afford at the time. Because when I was just starting, I couldn't get on the radar of a Lisa Nichols and a Les Brown at that time. I hadn't increased my revenue to that point yet. So I started where I was. I gave myself permission to have small beginnings and to be okay with small beginnings, knowing that it might start small, but it's not going to stay small. So.
Yeah, again, opening yourself to that yes. And I like that, because a lot of times people think that starting a business, they have to get a coach straight away. But I mean, it's been my experience also that you kind of have to feel yourself out a little bit in that new realm before you even know who to go to for some help. So the next thing I'm wondering is, what events did you attend at that time when you were starting out? as far
Yeah,
as,
so I just started going to all of the local entrepreneurial conferences. There was one conference in particular called Get Radical, and it was hosted by Doreen Rainey. Now, Doreen Rainey, just to show you growth, I mean, now she's the VP of operations for Steve Harvey. It's just, you
wow.
know, and so in fact, he brought out that whole Get Radical space, and now they kind of transformed it into, I think it was Act Like a Success, Think Like a Success, and now it's called Vault something else. But they've basically evolved, which is just such confirmation that as entrepreneurs, as speakers, as anyone who's pursuing something greater, you have to keep evolving, reinventing yourself, making sure that your content is relevant and fresh and applicable to what's happening in people's lives or your clients' lives now. So I used to go to that one very frequently. That was one of the main ones. And there would be other little ones, and I can't remember all the names, but I made it a habit to network consistently and to go to events, live events, so that people could experience my energy and my passion for what I do. So it's very different. I mean, it's one thing now we do have, Facebook Live and we have all this stuff, and that's great, but there is nothing like the fire you experience when you're with me in person. Like, it's just, it's contagious. And I needed people to feel that, to feel how passionate I was about taking this thing and maximizing it. I didn't know all the answers, but doggone it, I was willing to show up and do the work. And it was oftentimes my energy and the passion that I had that opened doors of opportunity way before it was what I was teaching.
Yeah.
So it was the visibility, which is why I always say visibility trumps ability. It was the visibility that opened a lot of doors, that created a lot of relationships for me well before my ability, because I hadn't even really honed in on what my specific subject matter expertise was going to be. So as I was figuring that out, I was just kind of in limbo of being like just a motivational person. Oh, Cheryl, they used to call me the master motivator. She's the master motivator, because I could get people energized and pumped up and fired up. So I stuck with that for a long time before I started teaching in the realm of being a speaker development coach and teaching women entrepreneurship skills. That came later, through the course of attending events, watching other amazing women in action, hearing what they were talking about and figuring out what did I really have the expertise to be able to share with other people. So it was a lot of my growth was through watching other women before me who were already hosting conferences, who were already coaching. I was so new to it, but seeing them do it inspired me to believe that I could do it as well.
Yeah, and that's so important. I always encourage like going to events and feeling people, because even like I've watched your Facebook Lives, I think leading up to when I met you in person, and there's a whole just dimension of a person that's missing on a Facebook Live. Like meeting you in
Yeah.
person and watching you on Facebook Live it's not quite the same. So being there in person, very, very important. So coming up in the next segment, I want to talk more about the fact that we're coming into high conference season, which is really what we're talking about today. But I just wanted everyone to have some background about who you are, where you came from in the realm of speaking and conferences. So we're going to take a brief pause for our sponsors, and we'll be right back. The Replenish Me Mastermind and program is all about you. Have you been feeling like, can I just find a way to replenish myself? How do I stay deeply invested in my mission and purpose? And why am I still doing what I'm doing? Have you really lost sight and focus? What if there was a program that helped you to not only start over with that brand new slate, but support you with how to do that in a way that enriches you and empowers you to not just carry on, but to change the entire way you live your life? I call the program Replenish Me. The important thing about this is we start out by creating a new foundation, and in that process, just releasing everything and anything and anyone who doesn't serve you. and then replacing that with what you truly desire and creating a roadmap. Along the way, we're going to doubt ourselves a bit. So we roll in the process of self-compassion, self-forgiveness, and self-belief. Does it sound too good to be true? Well, let me introduce you to my page. This is the Replenish Me page. Here, there is a free training. As you see, there's a few videos at the top for some of the process, and you can actually even go to my actual website, which is replenishme.info. Okay? And here you can find out more about the program, the women that will be in there, and get the special training, the 3-part free training yourself. So I want to invite you to go to www.replenishme.info and start on that path of staying nourished, body, mind, and soul. Now, back to our show. And we're back. So in this section, I really want you to give us some guidelines, because I attend a lot of events, but probably like you in the beginning, like my first year attending a lot of events, it was just kind of like, why am I here sometimes? Like, this place is not for me. So like, what should we do going into conference season when we're looking for a conference to attend?
Yeah, I think that it's just, number one, have the idea that you want to be intentional, right, with where you spend your time and who you spend it with. And I think there's such a variety of conferences that you can go to. So you have to decide, why am I saying yes to this conference? Why am I saying yes to investing my time and my finances into attending this specific conference? Because you might be attending one conference and you want something different than another. So maybe you're attending a conference and you're just like, I need the spiritual edification. And right. So you go and you sit and you attend a faith-based conference that's focused mostly on that. But then maybe you say, okay, in this quarter, I need to attend an entrepreneurial conference that's really going to give me new skills, new strategies, new techniques. Is this conference going to give me that? And one of the best things you can do is look at the agenda beforehand. Most times the agenda will print out exactly who the speakers are and what their speaking topics will be. And you need to know, are these the topics that are going to help me move into what I consider to be the best next steps for where I need to go in my business? Sometimes it might be a conference that's kind of over your head and maybe you're not there yet. So why would you invest your time or your money going somewhere where you're like, okay, I'm not even at that place yet? I would rather you choose a conference where you're like, okay, I need at least, I need of the 10 sessions, I need 5 of these. So I'm going to this one. Sometimes you go to a conference because you want to connect with a specific person. Maybe there's a specific speaker there that you want to try to get up and close and personal with, because maybe you want to collaborate with them, or maybe you want to book them for your speaking engagement. So there's all types of reasons why you would say yes to going to a conference. I think as long as you think it through, it's intentional, and you know why you're going, then I don't think anybody else can say, well, it's not a worthwhile conference. But you have to know why you're saying yes. Sometimes you do want to go into a conference that is going to allow you to find potential customers. Here's why I say that. You might go to a conference and they offer something from the front of the room, from the stage, right? And maybe it's their bigger speakers and they're offering a package that's $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever it might be. Everybody in that room is not going to buy, because everybody in that room might not be ready for that financially or for the time commitment. But when you're in that room, you're in a room with people who are willing to invest in themselves because they're there at the event. So yeah, they might end up becoming your customer versus the customer of the person who's on the stage. And I just think that happens organically just by you being in the space. So if I say I want to work with women entrepreneurs, then it behooves me to go to conferences where women entrepreneurs are. Because in that space, there's going to be networking time, which means we're going to develop relationships with somebody. They might end up being a client. They might end up being a great source of referral, or they might end up being someone who has my client already. And now we can cross promote and we can collaborate on some things where it's a win-win for both of us. So again, you just have to be very clear. I'm going into this space because I'm going in with the expectation that I'm going to find a group of people who I can collaborate with, who might become my clients and or can become sources of referrals. Okay, I'm going to this one because I need to be edified. You know, I've been pouring out so much of me. I need to be poured back into. So I just want to go and just listen and just soak everything in. Okay, I'm going to this conference because, you know, I need specific tools and strategies. I don't know how to do social media and I suck at it. And I know that I need to leverage it. So let me go here and learn some stuff that I don't know. So I'm going to this social media conference. So whatever it is that you need in that space, that's going to be the next best thing for you. As long as you have an intention and you know why you're going versus, oh, I'm just signing up for another conference. Oh, you are? Yeah, I signed up for that conference too. Why? Because you don't have nothing else to do?
Just an
as long as
it's $400.
Yeah. So as long as there is an intention and you know why, then I think it's never a bad thing to attend a conference.
That's a great thing. And you also said something that I want to pull out because the name of my podcast is Replenish Me. You said sometimes you choose to go to a conference to pour back into yourself. And this is something that I really, really try to do. If I know that I'll be speaking, right, coming up the month before, I try to attend something that will deeply, you know, pour into me so that I'll have, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's so important. I mean, I can't tell you how amazing it is when I go to a conference and I don't have to worry about prepping to be on stage. Like I just get to, I'm like, oh, I just get to sit in the seat and just be a student, you know? Like I love those spaces because there's no real expectation on me. I don't have to deliver anything. I can just come and be authentically me, just relax. I don't have to be on, as they say.
Yeah.
I can just sit in a chair and just soak in all the great knowledge that's being dispensed from other people on the stage. So, yeah.
Yeah. Before I get to the places where we can meet you while you'll be speaking, I want to talk really briefly about your Unlock Your Brilliance. You had, at the beginning of the year, you set up an event for your students. And I attended that one also. So tell me a little bit about how you support women in that space.
Yeah, so sometimes I do kind of these one-off events. It's not an annual event. It's just something that speaks to my audience. And I know for a lot of the people who follow me on social media or are part of my list, that they really crave the idea of being able to tap into their unique brilliance. And so you'll see me doing kind of these one-off events where it does two things. Number one, it gives people in my community and my tribe an opportunity to connect with me offline, in person. It gives them an opportunity to get fueled and filled and fed so that they can continue in their journey. And then the third part is it actually gives me an opportunity to create a stage for people who have worked with me so that they can actually implement the things that they've learned through some of my trainings and programs. So it really is, it's that threefold thing that I absolutely love doing. So Unlock Your Brilliance was right along that line of just empowering women and men, but primarily women to really take the key and just open up the gift that's been given to you. Like stop leaving it in a box locked up because you're afraid that, you know, it's going to fail if you pursue it, or afraid that nobody's going to like it, or whatever the fears are, and all the self-limiting stuff we tell ourselves and the self-sabotaging things that we tell ourselves about why we're not good enough. It's time to put the key in, unlock it, and unleash it so that other people can benefit from it. So it was really focused on that. And again, creating the platform for some of my students to be able to share their voice.
And what I noticed from you, you didn't seem to be on. You were very relaxed.
Yeah. And I didn't, even at the end, I did like a little impromptu coaching type of thing. If you remember that, that wasn't planned. Like that totally just kind of happened in the moment. And that's just because I can't help it. I love what I do. So, so if I see an audience, don't give me the microphone because
or do give you the microphone, yeah.
Or do give me the microphone, right? Because I love pouring into people. I mean, I love it, and that's how you know that you're in the right lane, right? When you love something so much that every opportunity that you get to do it, it's not that you're trying to monopolize, but you're trying to really serve. You're trying to really pour into people and let them know, if I can do it, so can you. You know, and giving people deeper things to think about, especially as they're considering their own entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And I was very relaxed. I wasn't, like you said, I wasn't on because that wasn't planned. It just kind of happen. And I think that's beautiful when that happens at events, conferences, when there are things that just organically happen with the flow and it serves everybody well. So
Yeah. So just something else for people to think about when they're looking at conferences and things to do with their tribe. So with that, where can we meet you where you'll be on?
I love that question. Okay, so coming up in the month of August, I'm actually going to be keynoting at an event called Glambitious. It's an entrepreneurial conference, and it's in Atlanta, Georgia, August 23rd. So I'm super excited about that. That's just next Saturday. I think they still have tickets available for that. And then in the month of September, my good friends Kern Cherry and Dorothy Wilson are hosting the Success Women's Conference, which I've participated in for the past 3 years or so. And that is September, I think, 19th through the 21st in Biloxi, Mississippi. Yes. So that is just like, that's one of the events you want to be there. I mean, you get access to so many dynamic speakers in such a diverse range of categories and topics that they're speaking on. You really do just get to pick and choose where you're going to spend your time for that day. So I love that. And then in October, I'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I will be keynoting for Heart of a Woman Conference, October the 23rd and the 24th. Okay. And then, of course, we have the all women's conference coming up. And that's also, I'm super excited about that. First of all, I can't wait to meet the other speakers. You know, it's something about knowing that you're going to be in that space with other dynamic powerhouses. Like I look forward to sharing, but I also look forward to receiving. And I'm super excited about that.
Receiving is super important. And yeah, All Ladies League, that's the next weekend after Success. It's September 27th and 28th in Dallas, Texas. So
yes,
we're excited to have you there. You know, when I joined the committee, I think just in March, and they said, do you have any ideas for different speakers for different topics? And when I saw that topic about, was it speaking up and getting your voice out there or something? I can't remember your specific title, but I was like, well, this would have to be Cheryl Wood, because that's like totally, you know?
And I love that. I love that because that speaks volumes to the thing that you and I'm sure both share with our clients, which is identify what is your unique lane of brilliance. Like, what is your just expertise that nobody can touch you doing that, where your name always comes up in the conversation because you're amazing at it. Not good, but you're amazing. You've dominated in that specific niche area. And so that, I think that's just such a testimony. And that's what I try to share with my clients all the time. It's like, don't be good at a whole bunch of stuff. Be amazing at something that will get your name put in the hat every time the topic comes up.
Yeah. So I want to just ask you, what is like, I have my own answer to this question, but for for people who come to see you at any of these events live, what is the greatest benefit for them attending?
Oh, wow. I want to hear your answer. You know what? I think it's the exchange of energy. Like I'm huge on energy. I think your energy speaks for you before you open your mouth. Your energy will magnetize to you what you want, or it will repel the things that you want based on how you show up. So I think it's a combination of the energy that is exchanged to be in a space with people who think like you do, who are like-minded, so that, you know, sometimes as entrepreneurs, we feel crazy. Well, it's okay. As long as you're in the room with other crazy people, it's okay. Like we fuel each other to keep going in this crazy journey that we're on. So I think it's that. And then I think it's the access to powerful content that makes you think deeper about something that you're considering pursuing in the entrepreneurial space, or whatever the subject matter expert area is for that particular session. And then just access to resources. Like anytime you're coming out, I mean, you're going to get access to those three things: content, connections, resources, and then just the energy that refuels you.
Yeah. And I'd have to say my answer actually is that regards to energy and vibration, right? You actually, I feel like a magnetic pull. I mean, if I take Success, for example, a lot of those women, I'm still in contact with them. Like a lot of times you go to an event and you meet people and it's just kind of like, oh, I met one cool person. But to be able to go to right, you go the events that Cheryl tends to speak at, there are so many cool people that it's just like, okay, well, I can only meet 100 people this weekend, but I'll go back next year.
Exactly. And I think that also speaks volumes to the people who are hosting the event, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times the person who is the host, it's their energy that draws certain people to the event, right? Like minds kind of draw like minds, energy draws the similar energy. And so I think that speaks volumes to, again, to the people who are hosting it and the type of people that are drawn into that space.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So let's dive a little bit deeper into now at Success. You started out, tell us your relationship with Success, because when I interviewed Kern some months ago, she was saying, oh, I had to have Cheryl Wood, and got her back every year. And so just tell me how, and I want our listeners to really listen deeply. So if you're planning on working on your speaking career and how to build relationships, listen to this story of how Cheryl really nurtured this relationship.
Yeah, so I think that the key point, the takeaway is show up and show up in excellence, even when it's not the ideal situation. Okay. So I met and connected with Karen Cherry because she heard me speak at a conference in Biloxi, Mississippi 3 years prior. You hear what I'm saying? 3 years prior. And the speaking engagement, it didn't produce the amount of attendees that was anticipated initially. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people who I knew, several people I knew who were supposed to be speakers backed out because they didn't want to come all the way from the Maryland area to Biloxi, Mississippi, and there were only going to be, 20 people in the room versus 120 people in the room. Me, once I give my word, I give my word. My word is you can always you always know. If I tell you I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I went anyway. I showed up. And there were probably 20, 25 people or so, maybe 30 people in the room. And I act like it was 300 people in the room. I gave my speech as though there were, 300 Raven fans in the room just waiting for me to show up and give that speech. And I didn't know Kern was in the room. I didn't know Kern at the time. And then I think Kern started following me on social media. And 3 years later, I get an inbox message, I think it was, from Kern on Facebook. And I didn't even know who she was. I'm not even kidding you. I didn't know who she was. You meet, when you speak, you meet so many people. Yeah. Like, you can't remember everybody. Yeah. And she said, oh, I heard you speak at XYZ event back in this year. We want to hire you and book you as our keynote speaker. And that was in 2017. That was for 2017. Wow. And I was floored that she knew who I was, that she was in the room. I didn't even know she was in the room at the previous speaking engagement 3 years prior. And that I had made that much of an impression, that she had been advocating for me to be the keynote speaker for 3 years. Wow. To her team. Of course, her team ain't know who I was. Who? Cheryl Wood, who? Right? They had no idea who I was. So they were probably like, I don't know who this person is you're trying to get in. But eventually she was able to advocate enough for me to get in. And in 2017, there were probably, 900 women or so there. Yeah. And I dropped the mic on them because I just went in as authentic Cheryl. Like, I went in just as authentically me. I was pumped up, fired up. You know how I do. I'm real energized. I can't help it. That's just who I am naturally. And they were floored because they don't get that very often on the coast. They don't even get a lot of the events, which is what makes Success Women's event so amazing, is because on the coast, they just don't get a lot of those type of opportunities to connect on that level. And so the feedback was just, it was amazing. Every product I bought, I took with me, I sold. I was in the hallway for hours talking to people.
It's like
it was mind blowing. And that's the thing. It's like, you have to remember that you got to always remember that the world is big, right? Because here in Maryland, DC, Virginia, we get it all the time. Yeah. So it's almost like people don't value it the same. Yeah. So when I went there and got that type of feedback from these women who were hungry and thirsty for it, that then refuels me like, okay, people do need me in the world, right? That's why sometimes you got to get out of your own zip code so that you can remember that there are masses of people who are waiting for your gift and who need it, even if it's not needed in your own backyard as much, because maybe it's an excess of it. But sometimes just getting on a plane and going somewhere else can remind you that there are over 7 billion people in the world who need to be fed by your gift. And so it was phenomenal. And then I've been coming back every year since. Last year, I always like to say this, that I dropped the mic so well in 2017 that they had to go get Lisa Nichols for 2018.
Of course, yes.
I'm like, I set the bar high. I set the bar really, really high. And I was really proud of that when they said, oh, we got to go get Lisa. I'm like, that's right. I set the bar very, very high. But ever since then, I just have had such an amazing relationship with Kern and Dorothy and just the whole success. And every year they ask me to come back. I'm like, oh, please, that's already on my calendar, because I love the environment that they create. I love that they value what I bring to that conference. And I love being in their space and I love watching another woman's vision come to life.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just, I love being there and speaking, but I also love being there and listening to the other sessions and participating and seeing the other conference speakers. It's a phenomenal event.
It is. It really is. So, I just want to pull out like these learnings. I know that you already highlighted it, but I just want to mention, that you never know who's in the room. You just never know. And just because it's a small event, quote unquote, it doesn't mean that it can't, bring you something later. And the last thing I hear is like, just don't give up, because you could have been like, whatever, man, no one ever comes. So, such a small amount of people. And the last piece, a lot of people feel like, why can't I do much in my hometown, right? But it's okay, because it's a big world. Don't just do in your hometown. Go someplace else. Yep. So
absolutely. I always say stop fishing in the local pond and start fishing in the global ocean. Like the ocean is massive. It is massive. And so if you think of the world that way, that, okay, I'm not going to just put, a little pond is just little. And that's how our backyards can feel a lot of times, our zip codes. But when you get out to the ocean, there's so much. There's excess for you and for you to share your gift and for you to monetize your gift. So definitely get out into the world.
And I know that you, speaking of getting out into the world, you spoke at All also in 2017, didn't you, in India?
Or that was, let's see. So this year was, 2017 as well. Yeah. Absolutely. It was in India. Yep. And that was amazing. I mean, that was such an amazing experience to be able to experience, women of a different culture and connecting but seeing that we're so similar though.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter what language you speak. It just, we all want very similar things. We want to know that we are needed in the world. We want to know that we are having an impact on other people's lives in the world. We all want to somehow feel like we're either doing something great or a part of something great. And that we're creating a legacy to inspire someone else. And so that was such a phenomenal experience. And just the fact that I got to take my family with me. Like, my kids have been more places they're 11, 12, and 15. And they've been to India, South Africa, and France in the past 3 years. I'm 45 and I'm just getting there. So, so it is a blessing. All of this whole journey is a blessing, not just to me and the people that I'm serving, but it's also a blessing to be able to have my kids and my husband experience it with me and to show my kids what's possible if you are willing to keep showing up and keep fighting for your dream, even when you don't feel qualified totally. Even when you're questioning, can I really do this? Nobody knows me, that if you keep fighting for it and keep showing up for it, it will manifest. The thing that you are seeking will manifest.
Yeah. And so that's really the focus of the All event, because, All doesn't really have an established presence in the United States. So with our entrepreneurial chapter that we're starting in Dallas, the actual theme is we can have it all.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, we're going to have personal development speakers talking about empowered success, empowered to succeed, power of self-belief. We'll be talking about social media and branding, and generational wealth.
Yes, which is so important.
Yeah.
Difference between generating wealth and just making money. Two big different, really, really different things. And yeah, that's going to be a great conversation.
Yeah. Amazing. So we'll take another brief break. And then the last segment, we're going to talk all about Cheryl's new conference, SpeakerCon. I'm so excited to share that America's Leading Ladies book is now available in paperback. I picked up my copies today, and you can now click on that link on my website, which is cordeliagaffar.com, and order your signed copy of the book. This is 320 pages of pure gold, starting with Oprah Winfrey, with some of the most dynamic women in North America. We have Jenny Zhu, we have Tina Teranchian, who I interviewed in the author series. We have Dr. Marie-Flore Latortu. We have Lale Hancock. We have Marjorie Salson. These are all, and Paula Vale, let's not forget her, and Natalie Rekstad, who is right after or right before Melinda Gates, and Claudia Harvey, who is right after Oprah Winfrey. So, and the lovely Catherine Gruner, who I immediately bonded with, and the other Catherine, who I also bonded with, Catherine Rolfe Martin, and Anita Hawkins, and Leah Williams, and Rhonda Farah. These are all actually, some of the names that I just named are women who have been recognized by the International Association of Top Professionals. So there's 12 of those women in this book as well. America's Leading Ladies Who Positively Impact Our World, Stories of Courage, Challenge, and Triumph. Get your copy on cordeliagaffar.com today. Now back to the show. And we're back. So I want to know all about SpeakerCon. This, I just want to be really transparent. I'm being super selfish because one of these days I want to have my own conference. So tell me, like, how did you come up with the idea? Did you actually get structured coaching behind it? And so let's start in that piece.
Okay, so actually, SpeakerCon is in itself, it's a new conference, but I've been hosting conferences for the past five or 6 years.
Okay.
So I used to host an annual conference called Playtime is Over Women's Business Conference. And that one we always had, several hundred women who came from all across the country to participate in that. And then, like I said, we talked about this earlier about the need to shift and recreate and reinvent. And I just felt like that had kind of reached its max. And I was ready for a new experience. And I was really ready to dig my heels into being a true expert in something. And I felt like SpeakerCon would solidify that thing. So SpeakerCon there's a con for everything. Con just represents convention. So there's Comic-Con for those of you who kind of follow anime and stuff like that. Comic-Con, there's a Cookie Con. Yeah, it's an actual cookie convention. There's this thing called T-Con, which is like t-shirts. I mean, there's a con for everything. And I started researching it. There was no con for public speakers and people who are verbal communication experts. So we're talking, activists and advocates, radio personalities, broadcasters. There was nothing. And I was floored. So I kind of got the download from God a while ago, but I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. People are going to think something if I'm the one who, I've only been doing this for 8 years, how would I be the one to say I'm going to do SpeakerCon? Like all this dumb trash stuff that we tell ourselves in our head about why we shouldn't. So I really, in effect, was kind of debating with God. And finally, I just surrendered. I gave in and was like, okay, you keep downloading this idea. Clearly, it is meant for me to be the person who executes this. And here we are. SpeakerCon is birthed. And it is going to be a convention accompanied by a conference and an awards gala. So it'll cover the whole idea of getting access to resources, but also that educational component with the conference. So now you get to actually get You actually get to get powerful contact information and content, and you get to connect with people as well as celebrate. So the awards gala is specifically for celebrating people who are just using their voice in the most powerful way, in the most positive way in the world that they possibly can. The convention gives you access to the resources. So we'll have a variety of exhibitors who will be in the space. We're even going to have, I love this, a self-care suite as a part of the expo, because one of the things I know that especially women, which 90% of our audience is women, that we don't do well is really taking care of ourselves, setting aside time to refresh, re-energize, regroup, replenish, as you talk about so often. We don't do that enough. So we actually created a self-care suite separate from the resource expo part, so that we can remind women, as you're out here grinding, as you're out here sharing your voice with the world and sharing your story and traveling all over the globe, remember to make you a priority as a part of that. And then again, on Friday, we'll have just a full day of the conference itself. So I'm excited. I'm excited that it's actually being birthed. I'm anxious. I'm a little nervous. And that's how you know you're growing.
Yes.
And it's like with the other conference, I didn't feel the same. So I knew I had kind of outgrown it. So it's like, okay, it's time to move, and you have to be okay to change and shift and pivot in a new direction, even when it's scary to you. So I'm excited. The response that we've gotten has mind blowing, like mind blowing. We already know that for next year, we're going to have to double the size of the space. Wow. Because we're practically sold out of the event. Nice. It's crazy. It's August and the event is in November. So it was clearly a need, and I'm super excited to fill the need and just to keep watching it grow and grow and grow. Some of the speakers who will be on the platform, I'm super excited. Her name is Michaela Alexis. If you follow her on LinkedIn, she's a massive following on LinkedIn, but she is a LinkedIn trainer, speaker, and strategist, especially for those speakers who are trying to gain more access to corporate opportunities for speaking, which is why a lot of the revenue is, but a lot of us aren't tapping into that. So she'll speak about how to truly leverage and maximize your social media appearance, if you will, on LinkedIn. And then there's Dorinda Walker, who used to be one of the senior executives for Prudential, and now she runs her own business, which is called Cultural Solutions Group. She's actually going to do a whole segment on how to find corporate sponsors for your events. So for those speakers who are hosting their own events and really taking the leap, right? Well, all of us got to start somewhere. How do I get more sponsors? Because the more sponsors I have and support, financial support, the greater I can make this thing. I can give greater access to certain things by having the right amount of revenue injected as a part of the event. And then we have, an amazing mom-daughter team who they do a lot of speaking all across the country, Rosalind and Gabby Goodwin. And Gabby is, I believe now she's 10 or 11 years old, and she has her own company called Gabby's Bows. Yeah. So they'll be there. I'll be doing an interview on stage with them about how she is taking this business idea and executing it well, but how speaking is really maximizing the opportunities that she has to sell the product and to work with other individuals. Because the more you're on stage, now you're on a one-to-many model versus a one-to-one model, which means you get in front of more people who can potentially become your paying customers. So we'll have a deep dialogue with Gabby and her mom. And then TJ Mercer, who is your do-it-yourself publicity expert. She's going to be talking about how do you get on some of the mainstream national platforms, the CNN, MSNBC, all those platforms that a lot of us are trying to grow to. Yeah. She's phenomenal. I can't even read her whole bio because it would take me like an hour to read her bio, but she's done work with some of the best executives and worked on some of the top shows in the world on television. So she has the access. And then Taria Vision Avant is going to talk to us about how to write your own book in 24 hours. Hello. Some of us taking 24 years, and she's going to teach you how to do it in 24 hours. Taria Gates Anderson is going to talk about branding, how to really establish a solid brand. And then we just have a whole host of other amazing folks. We do have our celebrity speaker for the gala is Kenya Moore. She's
Yeah.
a reality television star. You guys have seen her. She's grown a lot though. She's married now. She has a baby. Just her life has shifted a whole lot. And she has been very vocal about some of the things that she's experienced in her life, which for me resonates because I love when a woman really gives power to her voice and power to the experiences that she's been through, the experiences that she's been through with her own mom, her relationship with her mother, the experiences that she's been through with, you know, trying to find love and wanting to have a baby before, you know, kind of the biological clock was done. So just all that stuff just really made her a good fit for us. So she'll be there speaking. And then we'll actually be, for the awards gala, we'll be honoring again a whole host of amazing men and women who are using their voice very powerfully. We're running it kind of like the Oscars. So we don't announce the winner until the day of. So we have all these people who are on pins and needles.
I'm one of those people.
Right, Julia is one of those people. They're anxious, they're excited. I'm like, guys, they don't tell you you win before the Oscars, so you gotta wait. We gotta, you know. But we have a whole planning committee who has reviewed all these applications that we received. We received over 300 nominations. It was just crazy. Again, we didn't know what was possible until we put it out there and executed the idea.
Yeah.
And then you realize, wow, I've been sitting on this gold mine, or I've been sitting on this thing that can, you know, I can maximize and monetize, and you had no idea. So you got to just get started. Just like with my business when we talked earlier, I just got started. I wasn't sure. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know the how, but I was willing to get started and just flow with how things organically evolved over the course of the journey. And so anyway, so here we are for SpeakerCon in just 79 days, counting and counting.
Amazing. I saw like early on, was it June or July that you sold out your elite tickets?
We
Yeah.
sold, we did.
I was like, wait a minute, she just started advertising this.
That's what we said. We said the same thing. We sold out all of our elite tickets. We've sold out all of the VIP tickets. We're practically sold out of the conference. I would be very honest. The only tickets that we really have left are tickets to the actual conference. Like everything else is sold out.
Standing room only, folks.
Yeah, but it's great because it'll remind people to, hey, hop on board for next year. Like, get your ticket early. And we kept saying that, like, guys, we only got this many seats left, and now people are like, oh my God, I didn't get a ticket for my husband, and oh my God, I didn't get a ticket for my best friend, and I'm like, oh my God, we don't have no more seats.
Too late.
It's like, what are you gonna do? You know, so we're just excited that we have that type of response. You know, that it was a need that we discovered, and that we were willing to take the step to fill the need, and that it's paying off in a big way.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, what a testament to just, you know, first of all, surrendering, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and just stepping into, you already know your market and you know what's needed and you know what's missing. So that's super important. I'm really excited for you. I'm excited because it's in the DC area and I don't have to negotiate anything.
I love that. I love that. Look, I'm gonna share this announcement that I haven't shared anywhere else. So I'll share it. It'll be first, you know, seen here first, like they do in the headlines on the news shows. But we are gonna be honoring five speakers with what we call our Speaker Legend Award. Those will be the only awards where we've identified the 5 people. Everything else will be kind of like, it'll be announced based on nominations and the research that the planning committee did. But I wanted to share that one of our awardees who has accepted and will be in the building is Mickey Taylor, editor-at-large of Essence Magazine. So she is flying in from the New York, New Jersey area. She will be there with us. We will be honoring her. She'll be there for the awards gala. So, you know, people are going to get to hobnob with some amazing folks, and we'll share some of the other people for another time. But we got that yes from her, that she accepted, and she has made such an impact with her voice and with her influence. She has just touched so many lives. And if you ever get a chance to hear her speak, all you can do is all of her wisdom just comes out, and just the godliness in her and just everything. You can, all you do is sit and just your mouth is like wide open. And I've heard her speak on a number of occasions. She's spoken at a number of my events. As a matter of fact, she was my keynote speaker for my Paris event, the event that I hosted in Paris, France. And everybody's mouth was just like, wow. Yeah. So I'm super excited that she has accepted and that she'll be in the space with us.
That's so good. Thank you for sharing that and for making that major announcement here on the Replenish Me. So you heard that here first. You know, I want to just close, Cheryl, with how, like, what words of wisdom, well, extra words of wisdom would you use to close out our conversation today when we as women are moving into our mission and purpose in life to powerfully impact the world by either attending conferences or speaking at them? What would you say to us?
Yeah, I mean, I think just give yourself permission to be the amazing you that you really are inside, and give yourself permission to unleash that and unveil that to the world. So a lot of us, you know, we have that feeling inside that we're supposed to be talking about something, sharing some specific message, pouring into other people's lives about something, but oftentimes we diminish, you know, that feeling that the world needs me. And I just want to remind you that the world does need you, and that you are enough just as you are, that you are worthy just as you are, and that you are capable of really raising the bar on your own expectations for you, and the fact that what you know will add value to somebody else's life. Every one of us, I've never met a person who didn't go through peaks and valleys. And I've never met a person who's gone through valleys who didn't come out on the other side with all these valuable lessons and gems that somebody else is craving for because they're currently in the valley that you've come out of. Yeah. And so I just urge you to share your voice, find the power in your voice, and get on every platform that you possibly can to share what you know, whether it's small, whether it's big, whether it's intimate, or it doesn't matter, whether it's 2 people or 200 people or 2,000 people. It's about you knowing the value of what you've learned over the course of your life and the journey that you've gone through and the different seasons of your life, and saying to yourself, when I leave this place, I'm going to leave empty because I have shared what I know, and I did not keep it to myself or hold it inside. I shared it, willingly shared it. And I think when we do that, that's when we really get the fulfillment that we're looking for in life. And I think that's when we really start to create this thing called legacy. It's about passing something down. What did you pass down to someone else? That's what legacy is. What did you pass down to someone else through your authentic story and your authentic life experiences and lessons learned? There's so much power in your voice, and I want you to make sure that you leverage it.
Thank you. That was a beautiful end to like all of your golden nuggets. I really appreciate your time. And for those of you who have really benefited, or just you were here present and your mouth is open, listen again and again. And sharing is caring. You can listen to this podcast on CordeliaGaffar.com and iTunes. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Thank you for listening to the Replenish Me Show. Tonight, you have learned from the expertise of my guest, and whatever you've gained, remember that sharing is caring. So please share this with a friend. You can listen to the replay of this broadcast and all previous shows by going to CordeliaGaffar.com, and remember to have replenishing thoughts. See you next week.